January 22, 1943, Guadalcanal. A man lies chest-deep in a water-filled shell crater. Bolt-action rifle held above the surface. Mud on his face. Blood in the water. Not his. Not yet. 40 yards away, a Japanese sniper is crawling toward him. The man in the crater doesn't move, doesn't breathe. He has 2 rounds left. 6 weeks ago, every officer in his battalion laughed at that rifle. Called it a toy, a mail-order sweetheart. Asked if it was meant for deer. It was meant for this. For the snipers who had been killing Americans for days, and for the moment when the last one would come looking for him. His name was John B. George, and the rifle they mocked was about to become one of the most effective weapons on Guadalcanal. The rifle. What follows is drawn from George's own account, supported by unit records. Second Lieutenant John George arrived on Guadalcanal in late December 1942. 27 years old, 0 confirmed kills. But he carried something no other soldier had, a Winchester Model 70 with a Lyman Alaskan scope, a civilian hunting rifle he'd saved 2 years of pay to buy. Bolt action, 5 rounds. Every other soldier carried the M1 Garand, semi-automatic, 8 rounds. In jungle combat at 50 yards or less, George's weapon was slower, heavier with the scope, and completely wrong for the doctrine of the day. Captain Morris ordered him to leave the sporting rifle in his tent and carry a real weapon. George carried it anyway. The 132nd Infantry Regiment had just relieved the Marines. 16 brutal days to take Mount Austin, 34 dead, 279 wounded. George had fired his Winchester exactly 0 times. Then the snipers started killing. The problem. The Point Cruz groves were a nightmare. Massive banyan trees, 90 feet tall. Japanese snipers waited in them all day without moving. In 72 hours, they had killed 14 Americans. The battalion commander summoned George. His men were dying. He needed someone who could shoot back. He wanted to know if that mail-order toy could actually hit anything. George's answer: Illinois state champion at 1,000 yards, youngest winner in state history. The commander gave him until morning to prove it. Day 1. Dawn, January 22nd. George moved into a captured bunker with his Winchester, a canteen, and 60 rounds. No spotter, no radio man. At 9:17, he saw a branch move. No wind. 90 feet up, 200 yards out. George adjusted for wind, controlled his breathing, fired. The sniper fell 90 feet and hit the jungle floor. He worked the bolt, scanned the trees. Japanese snipers worked in pairs. At 9:43, he found the second one, 60 yards north, climbing down, retreating. George fired. The second sniper fell backward off the tree. 2 shots, 2 men down. The morning had barely started. By noon, George had killed 5. Word spread through the battalion. Men who had mocked his rifle now asked to watch him work. George refused. Spectators drew attention. Attention drew fire. The Japanese adapted. They stopped moving during daylight. George spent the afternoon glassing empty trees. What happened next would turn a man with a mail-order rifle into the most feared shooter in the Pacific. Day 2. Rain until 8:15. The Japanese had climbed into position during the downpour, using the sound to mask their movement. They were learning. George killed the 6th sniper that morning, then something he hadn't anticipated: mortar rounds. The Japanese had triangulated his position. First salvo, short, second, closer. George grabbed his rifle and sprinted as the 3rd salvo erased the bunker behind him. He relocated, resumed the hunt, killed his 7th that afternoon, his 8th shortly after. 8 confirmed hits in 2 days, 3 snipers remaining, and those 3 were the best, the survivors, the ones who had watched their comrades fall and learned from every death. The trap. Day 3, January 24th. George found a sniper in a palm tree, low, only 40 feet up. Unusual. He started to squeeze the trigger, then stopped. Too easy. A sniper who'd survived 3 days wouldn't make an elementary mistake, unless it was bait. George lowered his rifle, scanned every tree within 300 yards. 11 minutes. There. 80 yards northwest, 90 feet up. The real sniper, concealed, watching George's previous position, waiting for muzzle flash. George used their trap against them, shot the decoy first, then swung to the banyan. The real sniper turned toward the sound. George fired before he could fully rotate. 2 shots, 2 men down, 10 down, 1 left. George knew the mathematics. The last man alive was the most dangerous sniper on Guadalcanal, and now he knew exactly what George looked like, exactly what rifle he carried, and exactly how to set a trap. The last sniper. Machine gun fire raked his position. George ran, dropped into a drainage ditch, relocated to a water-filled crater, water up to his chest, Winchester resting on the rim, 1 sniper left, the best one. Then George realized the 11th sniper wasn't in the trees at all. Movement, 60 yards south, low, a shape crawling through ferns toward his last position. The final sniper had abandoned the high ground. He was hunting George on foot. George stayed motionless. The sniper reached the rocks, took position facing east, toward the drainage ditch, his back exposed. An easy shot, but George hesitated. This man didn't make mistakes. He expanded his awareness, found it. A second soldier, 70 yards northwest, behind a fallen log. 2 men working together. George couldn't kill both before they reacted. Bolt action. 1 shot, then worked the action. Too slow, so he sank deeper into the water. Submerged until only his eyes showed, held the rifle above the surface, and waited. 10 minutes passed. The man in the rock saw nothing. He stood, signaled his partner. Both began moving east in a sweep formation, 70 yards apart. They walked past the crater. George rose from the water, slowly, silently, water streaming off the barrel, off his uniform, off his face. He shouldered the Winchester. First shot. The closer man at 42 yards, down, worked the bolt. The second man was turning, raising his rifle. George fired first. By the end of the 4th day, 11 enemy snipers were down. The Point Cruz groves were clear. The aftermath. Captain Morris, the same man who'd called the Winchester a toy, was waiting at headquarters. The mockery was gone. Colonel Ferry had one question. Could George train others? George built a sniper section from scratch. In the weeks that followed, his teams killed dozens of Japanese soldiers, 0 American casualties. Then orders came. Burma, classified. George volunteered. He marched into the jungle with Merrill's marauders, 750 miles through mountains and rivers, no supply lines. A Japanese rifleman shot him in the shoulder. The bullet passed through muscle. He survived. Guadalcanal ended, Burma ended, the war ended. The book. George went to Princeton, graduated with highest honors, then Oxford, then the State Department. He never spoke publicly about Point Cruz. In 1947, he wrote it all down. No heroism, no embellishment, just what worked and what didn't, when one man with the wrong rifle stood between Japanese snipers and 14 dead Americans. The book was called Shots Fired in Anger. It's still in print. John B. George died on January 3, 2009, 90 years old. The rifle. The Winchester Model 70 sits in a display case at the National Firearms Museum in Fairfax, Virginia. Visitors walk past without stopping. It looks like any other old hunting rifle. It doesn't look like history, but it changed it.